up, fell down on your head, turned the earth to blood red. Couldn't call for a ride, staggering, the horrors on your face were real. Every thought you think of comes out of your mouth. What's new, what's the deal, where did they come from? Do you ever think what you don't say? Probably not that much. Probably not.
I am the devil. I am the Lord Satan from the netherworld, ruler of the damned and eternal king of hell. Even I, the master of deceit, can only stomach so much bullshit from the mainstream media and indie grifters. That's why I tune in to Morning Extra with Uncle Warren, because he eliminates my competition, and also because I know I'm gonna see that motherfucker soon.
Deo, Deo.
Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake is all go down. Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake is all go down. Corrosion to her thighs, erosion of her pride. Baby's got a shooter, baby's got corrosion now, corrosion now. Baby's got it.
Alrighty, cats and kitties, good morning. Can you guys hear me okay? With a little last second technical thing with the audio on some of this stuff. So I was like, oh, you love it when it happens right before the showtime. In fact, I'm doing a little side angle thing here. Yeah, there. All right. Okay. There we go. It does look, my head's tilted. This is me. I'm this guy. Good morning. It's Friday, and we got a lot of stuff to get to today. First, want to shout out the peeps. We got Desert Mantis in the house saying audio is good. Thank you. I don't know about the person speaking the audio, if that person's good, but at least the audio is good. We got Rick in the house. Good to see you, brother. We already said Desert Mantis. Max Sarjay's here. Willie Bragg Show, threatening to have a Bragland show tonight, 5 p.m. Eastern. Hopefully, the weather around your neck of the woods will cooperate, Willie, because we're going to be talking about that in a second. We got Chuck's Intergalactic UFO Show and CBC Voter, and Willie saying hi to the Nightbot. Yes, the Nightbot, is back. And you're gonna get in trouble. Hey now, the Nightbot's back. So before we get to all that, I want to remind you about, oops, that is not it. Why am I doing that? Never mind. I thought I fixed that, but I guess I did not. This is going to be one of those days, folks. Anyway, our buddy Chanda Masta is, she is dealing with some issues, as far as, lung cancer is concerned. So, if you want to donate to her GoFundMe, the link is in the description below. Really don't know why that didn't do that. That's not a good omen for the rest of the show. But anyway, we'll figure it out. As they say, we do it live. So, what is going on? Let's get to it. We got some things going on with Hurricane Helene, who is now a tropical storm Helene. And this is from WQAD, the Quad, I believe, down in Florida. Let's get an update what's going on.
And just in the past few hours, officials are reporting winds got as high as 140 miles per hour in some areas. And so far, 3 people are confirmed dead and more than 2 million people are without power across Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas.
Parts of North Carolina could see up to 2 feet of rain in total. Forecasters are warning that rain could bring flooding worse than anything seen in the past century. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest on Helene's destructive path.
Overnight, Hurricane Helene slamming Florida, roaring ashore south of Tallahassee as a Category 4 storm.
You have these 140-mile-an-hour winds hitting here in North Florida.
This is going to extend. I mean, you're going to have hurricane force winds that are going to extend across a couple counties to the east and west.
The National Weather Service issuing a rare extreme wind warning for the Tallahassee area, calling Hurricane Helene an extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation, warning people to take cover and to treat the conditions as if a tornado was approaching.
This is shaping up to be a catastrophic hurricane for Florida's Big Bend. Here in Tallahassee, the rain, it has been consistent for hours now, and the winds are starting to intensify.
In Fort Myers Beach, Marine deputies wading through floodwaters, pushing a boat to help rescue people. In Tampa, roads turned to rivers, the area hit with strong bands of wind and rain. This video appearing to show transformers exploding.
This storm is raging. I have got flooding so bad you can't even imagine.
Near St. Petersburg, the lobby of the All Seasons Hotel underwater. On nearby Interstate 4, a highway sign fell onto a vehicle, killing the driver. Hundreds of people in Taylor County, Florida, in the bullseye of the storm, told emergency officials they did not evacuate. The sheriff's office now asking residents who defied the mandatory evacuation order to write their name, birthday, and important information on your arm or leg in a permanent marker so they can be identified.
Helene is now setting its sights on Georgia, but it is expected to continue weakening over the next several hours. Rena Roy, ABC News, Tampa, Florida.
Thank you, Arena, that is. Desert Mantis, I was just wanted to say this. You said maybe DeSantis will be swept out to sea. I just noticed about your name, if you take out the ERTM in the middle of it, your name spells DeSantis. I just figured you'd want to know that. You're like, wait a minute, what are you making me a part of this show? So what else do we need to know about Helene as it demolishes the southeast? Hey, what's up, Steve? Good to see you. So this is the shot of it from space. This thing at one point was 500 miles wide. Huge storm. So Helene struck Thursday night in Florida's Big Bend. That's the curve up there on the west side, underneath the panhandle there. Classed as a Category 4 storm with potential to inflict significant damage and loss of life. Thousands of residents were evacuated and nearly the entire state was placed under alert. Helene is now classified as a tropical storm, less severe but still considered dangerous. Authorities warn that rainfall and wind still pose a danger to people in Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. The hurricane made landfall around 11 o'clock last night Eastern time with maximum sustained winds estimated at 140 miles per hour. Monster storm right there. And you can just see how big this thing is. As a Cat 4, it was the most powerful ever to hit the state's Big Bend region. Some hours later, authorities downgraded the hurricane to tropical storm, but warned that the heavy rainfall and strong damaging winds posed a significant threat. Fallen trees brought down power lines across the state. Almost 1.3 million people in Florida without power, according to tracking site poweroutage.us. Florida has a population of 22 million. Earlier, the Weather Service warned people to treat the strong winds like a tornado is coming and quickly move to an interior room of the shelter now. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis urged residents to remain indoors, avoid roadways, as significant storm surge from Helene floods the streets and creates dangerous conditions, up to about 15-20 feet of storm surge. So it landed near the mouth of the Osceola River in the Big Bend area of Florida's Gulf Coast. They said Helene was moving northwards to Georgia, and the National Hurricane Center said the eye wall was entering the southern part of the state. Damaging winds will be felt across Georgia and the Carolinas through today. They also said that catastrophic life-threatening flash and urban flooding is expected in higher areas of the southern Appalachians. In North Carolina, also some landslides too they were talking about in that area. So that's the update on that. And here's just kind of a look of where it is right now. So this is Helene, the center of the storm right now. Like I said, it's a tropical storm. And as we zoom out here, look how huge this thing is, right? All the way up to Detroit, Milwaukee, out west close to Kansas City, through Jackson, Mississippi, Montgomery, Alabama, and then all the way out here, extending up to New York. So, and this is the path that it's going to be following right here. This is the green path here. And this little chart over here, I don't know if you can see this, but it kind of tells you the wind speeds. Like at one point at 7 p.m. when it made landfall, it was clocking in at 140 miles an hour. And that's sustained winds. That's not gusts. That's sustained winds. That's a powerful storm. So this is going to be heading its way into Tennessee. There's Nashville and Kentucky, the area here. So we're already seeing here in Chicago, it's overcast because of this massive storm. So, you know, we're gonna get a taste of it over the weekend up here in the Chicagoland area, for sure. But what does this mean financially? You know, because Florida, this is like the third big storm that's hit them in the last year. Florida's always been a magnet for storms. This is from Common Dreams, and most of the article at the top is talking about what happened with the storm. We already covered that, but although this Atlantic hurricane season hasn't yet been as intense as U.S. scientists expected, trends in extreme weather disasters have led some insurance companies to exit the Florida market in recent years. Farmers Insurance, we are farmers, announced last year that it would stop covering property in the state in an effort to, quote, effectively manage risk exposure. Hey, what's up, Kate? Good morning, dear. Good to see you. Happy Friday. While the Insurance Information Institute, the Triple I, the all-seeing third eye, an industry trade group said in May that legislative reforms passed in 2022 and 2023 have created a pathway to a stable Florida market. Reporting from this week shows that residents who aren't ultra-rich are still struggling to get and keep coverage. Yeah, there's a shock. Florida ranks 6th among states with the largest shares of homeowners who don't have meaningful insurance. About 18% of homeowners across the state, or about 1 in 6, are without it, NBC News noted Wednesday. Nearly 20% of Florida homeowners pay $4,000 or more a year for homeowners insurance, the largest share in the country, according to the Census Bureau. According to the Palm Beach Post, the global reinsurance broker Gallagher Re said in a Wednesday analysis that landfall in the Big Bend or Panhandle region of Florida, as it did as a major hurricane, has historically translated to insured losses in the low single-digit billions. But Helene is not a typical storm. Given Helene's very large wind radius, this would still bring hurricane-force wind gusts and high storm surge to coastal areas in the heavily populated Tampa Bay area. Tropical storm-force winds across most of the Florida Peninsula, Georgia, the Carolinas, Tennessee, and southern Appalachia. Gallagher suggested that Helene's private insurance market losses should be expected to land in the range of $3 billion to $6 billion, but if the hurricane unexpectedly moves towards Tampa, it could be over $10 billion. And like we said, it hit the Big Bend area, much like, I guess it was Florence. Was it Florence earlier that hit that area as well? So yeah. And now we have zombie hurricanes, folks. It is the spooky season, but do we actually need zombie hurricanes? I think we do. Well, we don't need them, but they're here. This is from Ion, WION, over in the Middle East, I believe. I'm not quite sure where they're located out of, but they're talking about Hurricane John. So let's hear what they have to say.
Meanwhile, Hurricane John has strengthened once again as it hurls rain at Mexico's southwestern coast, dotted with parks and tourist hotspots. It is an area already soaked by the slow-moving storm system over the past several days. John has turned menacingly near the stretch of coastline since Monday, weakening and strengthening again as it impacted major cargo ports, temporarily shutting local airports as well as claiming at least 5 lives, mostly due to mudslides. AccuWeather meteorologist Jesse Farrell referred to John as a zombie storm. It is a term that refers to systems that dissipate before strengthening back into a storm. It was first coined by the U.S. National Weather Service in 2020 when the remnants of Storm Paulette regenerated near the Azores after striking Bermuda. John was hurling rain across the Mexican state of Guerrero after already hitting the state earlier in the week in a strike that uprooted trees, knocked out power to tens of thousands, and triggered deadly landslides that crushed houses. Authorities are urging residents to take all precautions a day after a rising tide battered beachfront restaurants in Acapulco, one of the state's top resort areas, and rains flooded nearby roads. Acapulco is still recovering from major destruction caused by Hurricane Otis last year.
Yes, I would ask that they make their rounds in different parts of the city to secure the convenience stores, because I've seen people who do line up and buy, but mainly to avoid looting. I would ask the municipality and the state to be watchful and take their precautions to avoid looting mainly.
The Miami-based center expects the hurricane to skirt Mexico's southwest coast along Michoacan, Guerrero, and Oaxaca states. Now, the southern state of Guerrero and the other states were hardest hit by the storm, and thousands of military and emergency personnel have been deployed. Some 300 shelters were set up to aid residents in high-risk areas.
So there you go. The Gulf of Mexico and the Pacific side of Mexico getting hammered by these weather patterns, these severe weather patterns, I should say. And on a side note, it's nice to know that WION, Wyon, or however you say that, they have problems pronouncing names like I do. So, because, she said Guerrero, and then she said, and these other states, because she wasn't going to say those names. So, good on you, lady. I don't blame you. We talked about the death penalty here in the United States. And earlier this week, we mentioned what happened in Missouri. There was an execution there with the prosecution having doubts about, whether they should be executed or not, but they went ahead with it. Anyway, of course, Oklahoma is where the executions flow swiftly down the plains. Oklahoma executes man despite parole board recommending life be spared. So a man has been put to death by the authorities in Oklahoma despite a parole board recommending that the life of Emmanuel Littlejohn be spared. Littlejohn, 52, was executed by lethal injection yesterday morning for the 1992 robbery of a shop owner that turned fatal. Reports said that as he lay strapped to the gurney with an IV line in his right arm, he looked toward his mother and daughter who were watching. Everything is going to be okay. I love you, Littlejohn said. The execution at the Oklahoma State Penitentiary in McAllister, 130 miles east of Oklahoma City, was the fourth in the U.S. less than a week, and comes hours before the state of Alabama was set to use nitrogen gas. We're going to talk about that in a second, to execute Alan Eugene Miller last night. If the five executions would also mark another grim milestone, 1,600 executions since the death penalty was reinstated by the U.S. Supreme Court in 1976. Thanks, Supreme Court. In Alabama, they've executed a death row inmate using nitrogen gas, marking the second use of the controversial method, which some critics have claimed is tantamount to torture. Execution by nitrogen hypoxia involves replacing the oxygen breathed by an inmate with 100% nitrogen. Supporters of the method claim that the person being executed is likely to lose consciousness shortly into the procedure, thus making it more humane than other methods. Other experts, however, have raised concerns that it could lead to excessive pain and torture, saying there is no way to pinpoint if or when a person loses consciousness when exposed to concentrated nitrogen gas. Yesterday, Alabama Department of Corrections Commissioner John Hamm announced at a news conference that 59-year-old Alan Eugene Miller had been executed using the method and was pronounced dead at 6:38 p.m. local time at Atmore Prison. According to the AP reporter present at the execution, Miller shook and trembled on the gurney for about 2 minutes, with his body at times pulling against the restraints. This was followed by about 6 minutes of periodic gulping breaths before he became still. In his last words, Miller also reportedly claimed that he didn't do anything to be in here and asked his family and friends to take care of someone. So yeah, that nitrogen hypoxia is very scary, because they say, oh, well, it's instant. And no, it's not instant. I think in the first case, I can't remember who it was, that they used that the person was just violently shaking, and it's just a very inhumane way to take somebody out. So maybe we should get rid of the death penalty. Hey, maybe we should find other ways of dealing with criminals, or making sure that they are criminals in the first place. One person who is definitely considered to be a criminal, at least an indictment says as much, is New York Mayor Eric Adams. We love New York Mayor Eric Adams around here. So, of course, he was indicted yesterday. Mayor Eric Adams charged with accepting bribes and soliciting illegal foreign donations to his election campaign, according to the federal indictment that was unsealed yesterday. He's the first sitting New York mayor in modern history to face criminal charges. The 57-page indictment is the culmination of a long-running investigation into Adams' 2021 election campaign and his alleged ties to Turkish government officials. It has included weeks of searches by federal agents, has led to the resignation of high-ranking officials, and has thrown the city's government into crisis. Federal agents raided the mayor's home, Gracie Mansion, yesterday morning and seized Adams' mobile phone. The mayor is not required to step down in light of the indictment, but he may come under political pressure to do so. In a pre-recorded video he released on Wednesday evening, Adams denied all charges against him and described them as entirely false, based on lies. I will fight these injustices with every ounce of my strength and my spirit, and all the money that his lawyers will let him use. And here's more about the indictment. So, who is he? He's a member of the Democratic Party. He was also previously an officer in the in the New York Transit Police and then the NYPD, retiring in 2006 with the rank of captain after 20 years of service. So since 2022, he served as the 110th mayor of New York City after winning an election held in November 2021. It was a victory he had repeatedly claimed was ordained by God. Yeah, so let's get to, and there he is right there, Mr. Ordained by God. Adams is facing 5 separate criminal charges, including those relating to bribery, soliciting illegal foreign donations, wire fraud, and accepting luxury travel and lavish gifts from wealthy foreign business people and a Turkish government official. At a press conference yesterday morning, the Southern District of New York Attorney General Damian Williams said Adams had sought and received illegal foreign and corporate contributions to his campaign funds and received more than $100,000 worth of luxury travel benefits from foreign business people and officials. The mayor had a duty to disclose these benefits, but year after year after year, he kept the public in the dark. Williams unveiled a list of luxury travel benefits, including airline upgrades and luxury hotel rooms that Adams had received between 2016 and 2021. He added that Adams had created paper trails to try to cover up the benefits he received. In 2021, the Attorney General alleged Adams pressured New York City Fire Department officials to sign off on a new high-rise building for the Turkish Consulate General despite safety concerns. The charges against Adams allege was payback for all the benefits he had received. Adams abused his privilege and broke the law, Williams said. The investigation into Adams' activities is ongoing. Over the past few days, amid sprawling federal probes, Adams police and health commissioners Edward Caban and Ashwin Vasan, schools chancellor David Banks, and chief counsel Lisa Zornberg have all resigned. Caban's phone was seized on September 12th as part of a federal investigation, and he was forced to resign. Days later, City Hall's top lawyer Zoidberg, I don't want to say Zoidberg, hey, Zoidberg, resigned, saying she could no longer serve effectively. A week later, Banks announced his retirement at the end of the year, stepping down from his role as head of the nation's largest public school system, just days after federal investigators searched his home and seized his mobile phones under a federal search warrant. They also seized the mobile phones of some of Adams' closest advisors, including Deputy Mayor for Public Safety Philip Banks III and First Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright. Officers have raided the homes of some of these advisors. The first sign that federal authorities were investigating people close to Adams came last November when agents searched the home of one of his top fundraisers, Brianna Suggs. So, yeah, there you go. Eric Adams, piece of shit. And now he's probably going to be getting what he deserves. I often like to take a peek down in my old neck of the woods, Mississippi, and see what kind of fuckery is going down there. And, the South is just full of small towns, and small towns are ripe with corruption and lawbreakers and that sort of thing. And, of course, this one particular town, no different. Mississippi town ran kinds of debtor's prison Charles Dickens described, alleged the Justice Department. This is from the Mississippi Free Press. The predatory for-profit policing of the Lexington Police Department has repeatedly violated the civil rights of residents, making arrests equal to roughly a fourth of the entire town's population and burdening them with fines and debts of over $1.7 million. The Department of Justice laid out in a damning report that amounts to around $1,400 for every man, woman, and child in the town. U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Mississippi, Todd Gee, explained the gravity of the charges in a live stream morning press event. Lexington has turned the jail into the kind of debtors' prisons Charles Dickens described in his novels written in the 1800s, Gee said, only this is happening in Mississippi in 2024. The report details a litany of brutal, extractive practices primarily aimed at the black residents of Lexington. Countless arrests over extreme minutiae, including illegal arrests, jailing people for conduct that is not criminal, like using profanity and owing money to the police. Since 2021, Lexington police have engaged in an aggressive campaign of punishment, often violent, against the residents of the town. The DOJ alleges we found instances in which officers use a taser like a cattle prod to punish people or to make them comply more quickly with officers' orders, said U.S. Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Rights Division, Kristen Clark. For example, officers used a taser to shock a black man 18 times until he was covered in his own vomit and unable to speak or talk. The aggression and over-policing, the DOJ alleges, comes in search of lucre gained from fining residents, a practice that has massively inflated the operating budget of the Lexington Police Department. Of course, all that money's going there. The department's funding ballooned from 2021 onward, rising from $662,925 to over $960,000 in 2023, all a consequence of the plunder taken from the residents of the town, the investigation found. The fact that fines and fees fund the department drives its law enforcement, resulting in a crude policing for profit scheme, Clark explained. Jill Colin Jefferson, a lawyer and president of Julian, a civil rights organization, experienced the abuses of the Lexington Police Department firsthand. In 2023, she was arrested for recording a traffic stop. In an afternoon interview with the Mississippi Free Press, Jefferson said the residents of Lexington have lived under what amounts to a state of occupation. People in Lexington are living in a military state under martial law, essentially, she added. They're getting arrested for things like taking too long to get out of their car at the grocery store. The police had a complete and total campaign of fear and control over the black citizens. And like I said, that's not like a new thing down south. A lot of these poor states, particularly Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama, they set up roadblocks at the end of the month, and they say they don't have a quota system, but they do have a quota system. And that's how they make their money, off of the poor people in those states. A federal judge is talking about fluoride and how it's not good. So fluoride poses an unreasonable risk of reduced IQ in children, according to a U.S. federal court. This was Tuesday. A federal court in California found that fluoridation of water at 0.7 milligrams per liter poses an unreasonable risk of reduced IQ in children. I think we talked about this story earlier. The new ruling issued by Judge Edward Chen noted that the finding does not conclude with certainty that fluoridated water is injurious to public health, but does find there is an unreasonable risk of such injury. This risk is sufficient to require the EPA to enact a regulatory response, Chen wrote. The decision is the latest ruling in an 8-year legal battle between the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and the Fluoride Action Network. There's a Fluoride Action Network? Okay. The lawsuit began following the EPA's 2016 decision to deny the plaintiff's petition under the Toxic Substances Control Act. The first phase of the trial took place in summer of 2020 via Zoom, and the second phase of the fluoride lawsuit concluded in February in San Francisco. While Judge Chen does not tell the EPA what the response to the ruling should be, he did rule that the EPA could not ignore the risk. The EPA must now initiate a rulemaking process to determine what regulation they will implement to lower or eliminate the risk posed by water fluoridation. The EPA is likely to appeal the decision, but could also drag out the rulemaking process for years. The Fluoride Action Network believes the most effective way to eliminate this risk is to end water fluoridation and ban the practice altogether. In our view, attempts by the EPA to appeal or delay this ruling will only result in harm to hundreds of thousands of additional children, particularly those whose families are unable to afford expensive reverse osmosis or distillation filtration of their tap water, wrote Stuart Cooper, Executive Director for Fluoride Action Network. Judge Chen's ruling includes several strong statements which make it clear that his court has no doubt water fluoridation is causing harm, even at the levels currently recommended by U.S. health agencies. These statements conflict with the claims of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and lobbying groups like the American Dental Association. The court finds that fluoridation of water at 0.7 milligrams per liter, the level presently considered optimal in the United States, poses an unreasonable risk of reduced IQ in children, Chen wrote. Chen goes on to note that there is little dispute regarding the hazard fluoride poses to human health. Indeed, EPA's own expert agrees that fluoride is hazardous at some level of exposure. The judge acknowledged that ample evidence establishes that a mother's exposure to fluoride during pregnancy is associated with IQ decrements in her offspring. Judge Chen's statement regarding fluoride exposure during pregnancy reinforces statements made by multiple expert witnesses presented by the fan during the trials. One witness was Dr. Howard Hugh. In February, Hugh told the court that babies in the third trimester typically pull calcium from their mother's bones as they develop their skeletal structure. If a mother is receiving fluoride, this will be stored in her bones. When her child begins pulling minerals from the mother, it will also receive fluoride via the placenta. Following his testimony to the court, Dr. Hugh, not Doctor Who, confirmed to, this is from The Last American Vagabond, by the way, that he believes fluoride is a neurotoxin. Yes, I would say that. In my view, the evidence is quite persuasive that there is a negative impact of fluoride exposure on the neurodevelopment of children, particularly the research that's been coming out in prenatal exposure. So, yeah. And we've been talking about this for a while, too. You know, that's always been kind of the running joke by conspiracy theorists, too. Like, this fluoride in water, man, it's making people nutty and stupid and doopity-doo-doo. Turns out they were right. You know, a lot of these conspiracy theorists turn out to be fact theorists, you know. So, there's a lot of crazy shit going on as we shift our focus to the Middle East, particularly Palestine. People who have been protesting the genocide that's going on there have been facing charges for these protests. So Palestine Action protesters defeat a decades-long felony charges. So 4 Palestine Action activists have resolved the case raised against them and settled for a sentence of 60 days instead of 37 years for protesting the genocide in Gaza. Paige Belanger, Sophie Ross, Bridget Shergelis, and Calla Walsh were involved in a legal battle for attacking the Elbit Systems facility in Merrimack, New Hampshire on November 20th, 2023. Elbit Systems has been the target of a series of pro-Palestine protests organized by Palestine Action, accusing the arms company of being complicit in the Israeli genocide in the Gaza Strip for its continued weapon deliveries to Israel. The protests, which involved the occupation of the Elbit building's roof, a road blockade, and an attack on its facade, causing tens of thousands of dollars in damages, was consequently coined a siege and riot by the state. Ross, Shergelis, and Walsh were also arrested at gunpoint, but were released 3 days later on $5,000 to $20,000 bail. As a result, a New Hampshire attorney general charged the protesters with conspiracy to commit criminal mischief, conspiracy to commit burglary, criminal trespass, riot, sabotage, and conspiracy to commit falsifying physical evidence. Their sentence amounted to 37 years in jail. Bellinger was also arrested later in January. The 4 co-defendants were given no contact orders, which were dropped in May after their defense attorneys won a motion. In January, as the case gained significant momentum and sparked major outrage, several pro-Palestinian movements, including the Palestinian Youth Movement and Palestine's Solidarity Working Group, issued a statement demanding all charges be dropped, slamming the felony as repression. Almost a year later, the co-defendants, called the Merrimack Four, are now pleading guilty to 2 charges only: misdemeanor criminal mischief and criminal trespass, reducing their sentence to 60 days under several conditions, including a 24-month suspended sentence for 3 years and a stay-away order from every Elbit Systems facility. Ross and Walsh, however, still face several charges for their role in a pro-Palestine protest at another Elbit Systems location in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So 60 days, hell of a lot better than 37 years, for sure. Talking about what's going on in that region, we were talking about the pagers and all the electronics equipment exploding over there in Israel's terror attack. Now Norway is intensifying their interest in this. So Norway issues international search request for a person linked to exploding pagers. Norwegian police have issued an international search request for Rinsen Jose, or Josie, a Norwegian Indian man linked to the sale of pagers to the Lebanese group Hezbollah that exploded last week, they said on Thursday, according to Reuters. Josie, 39, disappeared while on a work trip to the U.S. last week. He is a founder of a Bulgarian company that was reportedly part of the pager supply chain. September 25th, the Oslo Police District received a missing person report in connection with the pager case. Oslo Police said in an email to Reuters, missing person case has been opened and we have sent out an international warrant for the person. Josie declined to comment on the papers when reached by phone last Wednesday and hung up when asked about the Bulgarian business. He did not return repeated calls and text messages. Josie's Norwegian employer, DN Media Group, said he left for a conference in Boston on September 17th, and the company has not been able to reach him since the 18th. He works at the group's sales department. In 2022, Josie founded Sofia-based company Norta Global Limited. Bulgaria's corporate registry shows Bulgaria has investigated the company's role in supply of booby-trapped pagers, but has found no evidence so far that they were made or exported from the country. Yeah. And they're having investigations about this in Taiwan as well. Taiwan prosecutors say 4 questions so far over exploding pagers. Taiwan prosecutors said yesterday they have so far questioned 4 people as witnesses in their investigation into a Taiwanese company linked to the pagers that detonated last week in Lebanon in a deadly blow to Hezbollah. Security sources said Israel was responsible for the pager explosions that raised the stakes in a growing conflict between the two sides. Israel has neither confirmed nor denied its involvement, which means they probably did it. How or when the pagers were weaponized and remotely detonated remains a public mystery, and the hunt for answers has involved Taiwan, Bulgaria, Norway, as we just reported, and Romania. Taiwan-based Gold Apollo said last week that it did not manufacture the devices used in the attack, and the Hungary-based company BAC, to which the pagers were traced, had a license to use its brand. So a spokesperson for the Shilin District Prosecutor's Office in Taipei, which has been leading the probe into Gold Apollo, said that in addition to 2 people being questioned last week, it had also questioned 1 current and 1 former employee as witnesses. We are processing this case expeditiously and seeking resolution as soon as possible, the spokesperson added, declining to name the people questioned or say whether prosecutors plan to question further people. Last week, prosecutors questioned Gold Apollo's president and founder, Su Ching Kwang, and Teresa Wu, the sole employee of a company called Apollo Systems. Gold Apollo has not commented on that investigation and did not respond to a further request for a comment on Thursday. So, yeah, digging deep, trying to find out what has been, who's responsible for all this. There's always constant updates to the fighting that's going on between Israel and Lebanon and Yemen and Gaza. So we try to get you as most updated information as possible. This is from Middle East Eye. Israeli strikes hit Lebanon, Gaza, and Syria as Houthis fire missiles at Tel Aviv. Another one. Renewed Israeli airstrikes killed civilians in Lebanon, Gaza, and Syria overnight and today as Yemen's Houthis launched a long-range missile towards Tel Aviv, which was apparently intercepted by Israel's air defense systems. An Israeli air attack at around 3 a.m. on the southern Lebanese town of Sheba killed 9 people from the same family, including 4 children. Israeli air raids hit a string of towns and cities in southern Lebanon Friday, including an airstrike that leveled a building near a school in Nabatea and a strike that destroyed a home in Atit in the Tyre district. The World Health Organization said that 37 of 317 health centers in Lebanon had shut down and could no longer provide services due to the conflict. The director of Bint Jbeil Hospital, 4 kilometers away from the border with northern Israel, told Al Jazeera that the facility shut down due to heavy Israeli bombardment. More than 90,000 people were reported as newly displaced in Lebanon this week, according to the UN International Organization for Migration, adding to more than 111,000 already uprooted by the conflict. Israeli airstrikes killed 92 people and wounded 153 others in Lebanon over the past 24 hours, bringing the death toll to over 700 since Monday. Meanwhile, Hezbollah's rocket salvos have pummeled Israeli sites and settlements. Israeli sites in northern occupied territories came under heavy rocket attacks yesterday as the Islamic resistance in Lebanon continues to respond to the massacres committed by Israeli occupation forces in Lebanon. In the round of confrontations, the resistance only identified the type of rockets it used in its attacks, in one attack pointing to the variety of shells and medium-range rocket artillery systems deployed on the battlefield since the Israeli regime escalated its aggression on Lebanon. On Thursday, Hezbollah announced that its fighters fired salvos of rockets at the settlement city of Kiryat Motzkin, one of 4 small cities that make up the densely populated Kiryat settlement of the north of Haifa. The resistance then renewed its rocket attacks on the Rafael Advanced Defense Systems military-industrial complex located at the north of occupied Haifa in the Zvulun Valley. Really? Islamic resistant fighters then fired salvos of Falak 2-type rockets at the settlement city of Kiryat Shmona near the Palestinian-Lebanese border. Impacts of multiple rockets were recorded yesterday. And Hezbollah's air defense force then turned back 2 Israeli fighter jets that were flying from the direction of the Mediterranean Sea towards the town of Adlun Air defense units then fired their missiles at them, forcing them to retreat behind Lebanon's airspace. And you know, there's plenty of places to keep up to date if you're following who's doing what, because this is escalating, and it's probably going to get worse before it ever gets better, unfortunately. Meanwhile, Northern Cyprus president is criticizing the UK over sending 700 more troops to the bases on his island. The president of Northern Cyprus yesterday cautioned against the UK's decision to send 700 additional troops to its sovereign bases on the island, with Britain citing the need to evacuate its citizens from war-torn Lebanon. Anadolu agency reports. Ersin Tatar told Anadolu yesterday, amid continuing attacks in Gaza and the risk of Israel launching a large-scale attack on Lebanon, the purpose of the UK sending an additional 700 troops to its sovereign bases on the island for evacuations could indicate the possibility of a regional war. Tatar cited Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan's statement that the Greek Cypriot administration has become a base used by certain countries, especially in operations against Gaza, adding, "My main assessment is that Britain's increase in the number of troops in its sovereign bases in Cyprus is within the framework of measures taken to spread an expected war in the region," stressing that Turkey is one of the guarantor states of the whole island of Cyprus, and that the Greeks' transformation of the island into a military base for foreign countries is both contrary to international agreements and unacceptable. Tatar said the recent continuous increase in the military presence of the UK and US on Cyprus disturbs not only us, but also the Greeks. We can see that they are uncomfortable from the public reactions and the news media. These are movements that need to be closely monitored, and we are following the developments together with Turkey. Saying the UK is accelerating its contingency plans to evacuate its citizens from Lebanon, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced the Ministry of Defense would send those troops to its bases on Cyprus for possible evacuations. The British Foreign Ministry later confirmed that 700 troops were deployed to the island to support possible evacuation of British citizens from nearby Lebanon. Yes, indeedly do. Well, the UK probably should rethink that strategy, or even getting into this altercation in the first place. What's up, Gene? Good to see you. Good morning to you. Because it turns out the British Army is a little too tiny. What? British Army's too small. It's tiny. Yeah, they look big enough, I guess. British military does not have enough troops to fight a modern war and is unprepared for a potential conflict with Russia, a report compiled by the House of Lords has concluded. The report is the latest in a long line of publications and statements casting doubt on Britain's ability to engage in warfare. The British Army currently fields 72,500 active duty troops, down from a peak of more than 163,000 in the early 1980s. That's well over half. This downsizing was deliberate and was based on the belief that the use of advanced technology would compensate for fewer personnel in uniform, the House of Lords International Relations and Defense Committee stated in a report published yesterday. The war in Ukraine, however, has shown that in a conflict between two technologically capable states, technology is not a magic bullet that can swiftly end a war, the report warned. Sheer numbers still matter, and despite the use of drones and electronic warfare, whichever side fields small, lean, boutique forces will find that these forces get chewed up over time, the committee wrote. The UK has a well-trained and well-equipped force, the committee added, but before noting that it is too small and inadequately set up for large, prolonged conflicts like the ones in Ukraine. No British government has announced plans to reverse the downsizing of the army since the conflict in Ukraine broke out in 2022. However, military and political officials have issued ever more grandiose demands of the country's armed forces, with former Chief of the General Staff Patrick Sanders instructing troops in 2022 to prepare to fight in Europe once again, and former Defense Minister Grant Shapps claiming this year that Britain must be ready to wage war against Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea within the next 5 years. Aside from its manpower deficiency, the British Army currently has fifth as many main battle tanks as it did in the early 1980s, and according to retired General Rupert Jones, has less than a day's worth of artillery shells in stock. A day's worth. Wow. What's up, Choosy? Good to see you, bud. Early last year, a senior U.S. general told then Prime Minister Rishi Sunak that Washington considers Britain barely a Tier 2 military power, closer in stature to Germany or Italy than Tier 1 powers like the U.S., Russia, China, or France, Sky News reported. In June, a report by the House of Commons Defense Committee found that Britain's armed forces have been consistently overstretched and are in no way prepared to fight a high-intensity war. Yet, they all up in there. Because, the U.S. said, come on, bitches. Speaking of bitches, Israel getting more money from the United States. You want that money here in the United States? You go piss up a rope. That shit ain't happening. U.S. gives Israel $8.7 billion in military aid for operations in Gaza and Lebanon. Yesterday, the Israeli Defense Ministry announced that it secured $8.7 billion in military aid from the U.S., to support its ongoing military efforts, meaning the genocidal slaughter in Gaza and Israel's dramatic escalation in Lebanon. This is from antiwarnews.com with Dave DeCamp there. The ministry said in a statement that its Director General, Major General Eyal Zamir, concluded negotiations in Washington to secure the military aid. It said the packages include $3.5 billion for essential wartime procurement that has already been sent to Israel and a $5.2 billion grant for air defenses. The ministry said the $5.2 billion will significantly strengthen critical systems such as Iron Dome and David's Sling while supporting the continued development of an advanced high-powered laser defense system, lasers, currently in its latter stages of development. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin vowed yesterday that the U.S. would continue arming Israel and brushed off the idea of the U.S. setting red lines. We've been committed from the very beginning to help Israel provide the things that are necessary for them to be able to protect their sovereign territory, genocide, and that hasn't changed and won't change in the future, he said. So far, the U.S. has not announced the details of the $8.77 billion weapons package, but the funds are likely being pulled from the $17 billion in new military aid for Israel that was included in the $95 billion foreign military aid bill President Biden signed into law back in April. Israel also receives $3.8 billion from the U.S. in annual military aid. More money, more money, more money, more money for genocide. Israel lies a lot, and so does the United States. So this next story, I'm going to let you decide for yourself. The U.S. is claiming they're not offering intelligence support for Israel's attacks on Lebanon. That's according to the Pentagon. And this lady here with the thing, the U.S. military is not offering intelligence assistance to Israel for its attacks against Lebanon, the Pentagon announced yesterday. Pentagon spokesperson Sabrina Singh explained that there are no signs of an imminent Israeli ground invasion of Lebanon, while advising reporters to direct inquiries about Israel's military actions and strategies to the Israeli authorities. But that's why they're asking you, because they know you know, motherfuckers. When asked if the U.S. was providing support, including intelligence for Israel's military operations in Lebanon, Singh responded, no support. When it comes to Lebanon, the U.S. military has no involvement in Israel's operations. Wink, 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 wink. She broke her eye, winking. However, it remains unclear whether Singh's comments applied to the sharing of real-time U.S. intelligence on Hezbollah's missiles, potentially targeting Israel, reported Reuters. The Israeli army said yesterday that it is preparing for a grounded operation in Lebanon as airstrikes continue to pound the country. The army also called up 2 reserve brigades to the northern border with Lebanon amid its ongoing attacks. The mobilization of reserve forces usually signals potential preparations for ground operations. We're not stopping. The fighter jets have been striking all day in Lebanon. We're preparing for the maneuver, Israeli Chief of Staff General Herzi Halevi said during an exercise in the north, according to an army statement. Meanwhile, the international community has warned against Israeli strikes on Lebanon as they raise the specter of spreading the Gaza conflict regionally. You're seeing a full court press here from the United States government and this administration. We want to see a diplomatic solution. We want to see it urgently, stressed Singh. Israel's launched waves of deadly airstrikes on Lebanon since Monday morning, killing nearly 610 people. It's up to about 700 now, and injuring over 2,000 plus, according to Lebanese health authorities. Yeah, we're not lying. Don't call us liars. We don't know what's going on. Wink, 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 wink. So, I thought we should probably talk about some of this Trump shit, because it is ridiculous. The guy who thinks that Haitian immigrants are eating your pets. This motherfucker, he might actually be president again. God forbid. And Harris is no better, but you know that old children's tale from the sea. Iran denies targeting ex-U.S. officials after Trump implicates it in an assassination attempt. Iran said yesterday that accusations it had targeted former U.S. officials were baseless after former U.S. President Donald Trump implicated Iran without offering evidence, of course, in assassination attempts against him, Reuters reports. It is obvious that such accusations are just part of creating the election atmosphere in the U.S. and not even worth a response, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Nasser Kanani said in a statement. Trump, the Republican candidate to return to the presidency, said on Wednesday Iran may have been behind recent attempts to assassinate him, and suggested that if he were president and another country threatened a U.S. presidential candidate, it risked being blown to smithereens. They also threatened John Bolton, too, apparently. There have been 2 assassination attempts on my life that we know of, and they may or may not involve, but possibly do Iran, but I don't know really. I don't really know. Trump said at an event at a pipe fittings plant in Mint Hill, North Carolina. Trump made his remarks after U.S. intelligence officials briefed him a day earlier on real and specific threats from Iran to assassinate him, according to his campaign. Federal authorities were probing assassination attempts targeting Trump at his Florida golf course a couple of weeks ago and at a rally in Pennsylvania in July. There's been no public suggestion by law enforcement agencies of involvement by Iran or any other foreign power in either incident. So yeah, so these idiots saying, oh yeah, it's Iran, it's got to be Iran. Yeah, and this is what I was talking about just a second ago. U.S. officials offered $20 million reward for information on Iranian plot to assassinate official. The U.S. State Department announced a $20 million reward yesterday for information leading to the arrest of the alleged Iranian mastermind behind a plot to assassinate former White House official and human walrus John Bolton. U.S. officials said in August 2022 that they had uncovered a plot by Shahram Poursafi, a member of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, to kill Bolton, who served as national security advisor to former President Trump. The State Department's Rewards for Justice program, Bounty, is offering reward up to $20 million for information leading to the arrest or conviction of Poursafi, a notice said yesterday. The move comes as 78-year-old Trump claimed there's big threats on his life by Iran. We talked to you about Bolton, considered a foreign policy hawk, is a fierce critic of Iran and advocated that Trump unilaterally withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal in 2018, which he did. Poursafi allegedly offered an unidentified person inside the United States $300,000 to kill Bolton in the capital area. The plan was likely set in motion after the U.S. killing of top guards commander Qasem Soleimani in Iraq in January 2020, the Justice Department said at the time, but it never made headway because the ostensible assassin became an informant of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Wait, was he on their radar this whole time? Wink, 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 wink. Iranian authorities have dismissed the allegations as fiction. The United States has designated the entire Revolutionary Guard as a foreign terrorist organization in 2019 after previously designating its internal operation the Quds Force. So, yeah. Iran's to blame for everything. Why you got your shitty prices, why your wife left you, why your dick's small. It's all Iran's fault. It was Hamas and then Hezbollah, but now it's Iran because you cannot take responsibility for your own problems. Delicious vodka. We were talking about Britain, how they had downsized their forces because it's more of a tech war at this point than an actual boots on the ground kind of war situation. But the cyber criminals going after the Gulf economies, the Persian Gulf, that is, the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia in the crosshairs of darknet data trade. Ooh, fancy. A recent study by Positive Technologies, a leading global provider of cybersecurity solutions, has exposed a surge in cyber criminal activity targeting the Middle East, with a particular focus on the UAE and Saudi Arabia. These two nations, the largest economies in the region, have become prime targets for hackers exploiting sensitive data and infiltrating critical infrastructures. According to the report, the UAE accounts for 40% of posts on darknet forums related to the sale of compromised data and illicit access to local businesses, while Saudi Arabia makes up 26%. The cyber criminals are capitalizing on the region's digital expansion, selling everything from stolen financial data to unauthorized access to corporate systems. Positive Technologies, renowned for its expertise in identifying and mitigating cyber threats, conducted an in-depth investigation into the shadowy marketplace of cyber criminal services. Their findings highlight the growing demand for hacking services aimed at Gulf financial institutions in critical sectors like energy, raising serious concerns about the region's cybersecurity vulnerabilities. Experts from Positive Technologies stress that these activities pose significant risks to the economies and infrastructures of the Gulf, particularly as cyber criminals evolve and become more sophisticated, because that's what technology does. It evolves and becomes more sophisticated. The study urges that the UAE and Saudi Arabia to bolster their cyber defenses and calls for greater regional cooperation in combating these threats. While both governments have begun to strengthen their cybersecurity frameworks, the report emphasizes that more needs to be done to protect businesses and institutions from large-scale breaches. Without a coordinated effort, the Gulf region will remain a lucrative target for cybercriminals thriving in the darknet underworld. Yeah, that's right. Where the money is, that's where the tech's going. So it seems like Putin's been doing this every few weeks, and the fears of nuclear war that we have here in America and around the world, this doesn't really help deter those fears, but nonetheless, it is what it is. So Putin revamps Russia's nuclear rules, unveils new arsenal guidelines. There he is right there. He looks very sad. Putin has revealed forthcoming revisions to Russia's nuclear doctrine, which notably lowers the threshold for the use of nuclear weapons. During a televised meeting of Russia's Security Council on nuclear deterrence, Putin discussed the key aspects of the revised document, which is awaiting his approval. He warned that Russia may now consider using nuclear weapons in response to a conventional arms attack, in line with the new updates to the doctrine formerly known as the Basic Principles of State Policy on Nuclear Deterrence, or BPSPND. That's not the initials. But Putin explained that an attack on Russia by a non-nuclear nation with the participation or support of a nuclear power would be treated as a joint attack on the Russian Federation. Additionally, he noted that Russia could deploy nuclear weapons in response to any conventional attack considered a critical threat to our sovereignty. This adjustment significantly lowers the threshold for Russia's use of nuclear weapons and coincides with discussions among Ukraine's Western allies about supplying Kiev with longer-range weapons capable of striking military targets deep inside Russia. That's right. So yeah, how hot this thing is going to get, I mean, is it really going to come to nukes? We'll have to see. It really depends on who the next president is. And so if it's going to be Trump, well, he's getting his fingers in the pie. Trump agrees to meet with Voldemort Zelensky. There he is. Look at that sign. It's a microphone. There's no cable. It's not like the old days you had like a microphone cable and you had to grow it around. This one's wireless. I love wireless. Everybody should have a wireless mic. U.S. Republican Donald Trump has announced he will meet with Zelensky today in New York. Zelensky has already met this week with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. He has also sought a meeting with Trump. I will be meeting with him, which is Friday morning at 9:45 at Trump Tower. That's Trump. Sorry. I will be meeting with him tomorrow morning at around 9:45 at Trump Tower. The former U.S. president announced at a press conference in New York City yesterday. Earlier in the day, Trump had posted a message from Ukraine's deputy ambassador to the U.S. relaying Zelensky's request for a meeting to his Truth Social platform. Dear Donald, I hope you are doing well. I recall a recent phone call. It was really good, Zelensky wrote. All of us in Ukraine want to end this war with a just peace, and we know that without America, this is impossible to achieve. That's why we have to strive to understand each other and remain in close contact. Holy shit. It's like he's got one of those cancer box things in his voice thing. I really think he doesn't have cancer. I'm not doing that again. That shit hurt. You know, I always speak with great respect about everything connected to you, and that's how it should be, the Ukrainian actor turned politician wrote, adding that he would really like for our meeting to take place. The request came after Trump criticized the little nasty aspersions Zelensky had made about him and his running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, in an interview published last Sunday. At a campaign rally in North Carolina, Trump described Ukraine as absolutely obliterated and accused Biden and Harris of feeding Zelensky money and munitions like no country has ever seen before. We continue to give billions of dollars to a man who refuses to make a deal, Trump said, referring to Zelensky. Any deal, even the worst deal, would have been better than what we have right now. There you go. But wait, there's more. So the House GOP is launching a probe into Zelensky's Pennsylvania trip. Ooh. Look at that flag. They're like, I wish I was drinking right now. I wish this flag was booze. There you go. That's our little puppet show there. The House Oversight Committee has launched an investigation into allegations that the Biden-Harris administration used taxpayer-funded resources to fly Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to a key battleground state, Pennsylvania, ahead of the upcoming presidential election, Fox News Digital reported. Committee Chairman James Comer, a Republican out of Kentucky, sent letters to the White House, Pentagon, and Justice Department on Wednesday requesting documents related to the administration's alleged misuse of government resources to allow Zelensky to interfere in the 2024 presidential election. Comer referenced the 2019 impeachment of President Donald Trump, writing, in 2019, the Democrat-controlled House of Representatives impeached Trump for abuse of power under the theory that he attempted to use a foreign leader, the same President Volodymyr Zelensky, to benefit his 2020 presidential campaign, despite a lack of any evidence or wrongdoing on the part of President Trump. Comer pointed out that the Biden-Harris administration recently flew the same foreign leader, Zelensky, on an American taxpayer-funded flight to Pennsylvania, battleground state, which has been described as the trickiest battleground for Vice President Kamala Harris to win. He stated that the committee aims to determine whether the Biden-Harris administration attempted to use a foreign leader to benefit Vice President Harris's presidential campaign and, if so, necessarily committed an abuse of power. He explained that the committee is investigating the circumstances behind the administration's decision to transport Zelensky on a Department of the Air Force aircraft to Pennsylvania, according to Comer. Zelensky's itinerary in Pennsylvania included a meeting with Governor Josh Shapiro. He also referenced a recent interview where Zelensky criticized Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance, calling the latter too radical. Comer noted that Zelensky expressed doubt about Trump and his administration's ability to end the war, even though this being one of President Trump's main campaign platforms, and peace in the region under the entirety of the former Trump administration. He added, this rhetoric coming from a foreign leader released in anticipation of a U.S. taxpayer-funded visit about the current administration's political opponent is highly concerning. He further stated that the committee is investigating any coordination or communication among the Biden-Harris administration, Pennsylvania's office of the governor, and President Zelensky for use or solicitation of use of government property to politically benefit Vice President Harris's presidential campaign. Yeah. Oh. So that Zelensky guy, he gets around. We talk about the Nord Stream attack, that basically cut off cheap gas from Russia to Europe. Now, Der Spiegel out of Germany is saying that Ukraine's top general approved the Nord Stream attack. German weekly Der Spiegel has claimed it knows the identities of the divers responsible for the sabotage of the Nord Stream undersea gas pipelines. The outlet's investigation supports Western allegations that the September 22 attacks was funded by private Ukrainian money and given the green light by General Valery Zaluzhny, who was fired by Zelensky and is now Kiev's ambassador to the UK. The new report came on the eve of the second anniversary of the high-profile attack. While German investigators haven't named a culprit, Der Spiegel and other news outlets have reported that a group of Ukrainian divers who sailed on the yacht Andromeda were responsible for the bombing. And this is, the Russians clearly do not believe this bullshit. The outlets allege that Ukrainian intelligence officer Roman Chervinsky, who is being investigated in his home country in an unrelated case, was the alleged mastermind of the plot. Zaluzhny, who was serving as the commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian armed forces at the time, supposedly authorized the operation. Ukrainian leader Zelensky was either unaware of the plot or could not stop it in time, according to accounts by different outlets. Zelensky fired Zaluzhny in February after the two publicly clashed over military strategy. The retired general has denied responsibility for the Nord Stream attack. He's like, good job. You had done good job blowing up pipelines. Thank you. I love to blow up pipelines. I don't know if they said that. I might be paraphrasing. War takes its toll on all countries, right? And especially if you're getting the shit kicked out of you, like Ukraine, you're going to have homeless people, right? So homelessness reaches record highs among Ukrainians at home and abroad. The ongoing Ukraine war has led to starkly high homelessness rates. A recent report by Charity DePaul International found they had found that nearly a quarter of individuals who are homeless or are in emergency shelters have been displaced by the ongoing war, as reported by The Guardian. While the precise number of homeless people in Ukraine remains unclear, the charity surveyed over 200 individuals living on the streets or in temporary shelters. Over 3.5 million people are internally displaced. Additionally, 6.2 million Ukrainian refugees scattered across Europe face the growing threat of homelessness. In a report published earlier this year, the UN stated that 2 million homes had been destroyed or damaged since the onset of the war. In Pokrovsk alone, about 20,000 residents were evacuated in the past month due to escalating hostilities. Of those interviewed by DePaul, 69 were men. 69% were men, with almost half aged between 18 and 45. Former prisoners are particularly at risk, comprising 31% of the homeless individuals surveyed. In contrast, women and children receive more assistance through public shelters, international aid, and the ability to seek refuge abroad, while male Ukrainians aged 18 to 16 are barred from leaving Ukraine due to wartime conscription laws. 18 to 60. They got 60-year-old men fighting this war. In Kiev, there is just one government-run homeless shelter serving central Ukraine. Strict rules at such shelters often result in single men or those with addiction issues being turned away. As the war nears its third year, support for the millions of Ukrainian refugees across Europe is dwindling, heightening their risk of homelessness. In Hungary, the government has stopped housing assistance for thousands of Ukrainian refugees, deeming certain western regions of Ukraine safe for return. So these people that are in the non-war regions of Ukraine were going looking for new homes, and they said, "No, you got to go back. You're fine." The situation is similar in the UK, where more than 9,000 Ukrainian refugees households face homelessness due to a shortage of host families and inadequate local support. Across Europe, refugees encounter bureaucratic obstacles that prevent them from accessing protections guaranteed by EU law. Poland, initially allowing in nearly 1 million Ukrainian refugees, has seen public sentiment shift as concerns over social benefits rise. This month, Polish officials called for an end to EU benefits for men of fighting age and claiming the incentives encourage draft dodging in Ukraine. So yeah, that's the thing. You know, these refugees at first were welcomed, and now it's just like anything else. They're overstaying their welcome. Meanwhile, in Indonesia, you know, we told you about the mine explosion in Iran. Maybe it was last week before. I think it was last week. And now one has collapsed in Indonesia. And so an Indonesia gold mine collapses after a landslide, killing 15. And look at this is what a mine, a major mine looks like. It looks like a giant meteor crater, isn't it? But this thing is freaking huge. At least 15 people died in the collapse of an illegal gold mine in Indonesia's province of Western Sumatra, following a landslide caused by heavy rains, an official said today, while rescuers are scrambling to locate 7 missing. Small-scale and illegal mining has often caused accidents in Indonesia, where mineral resources are located in remote areas in conditions difficult for authorities to regulate. The illegal gold mine in the district of Solok collapsed after a landslide yesterday evening due to heavy rain, said Erwin Effendi, the head of the Provincial Disaster Agency. Rescuers must trek 8 hours to get to the site, which is inaccessible by road. If it's a mine that's inaccessible by road, how did they get it out? Erwin told Reuters, adding, the victims are the residents who manually mine for gold. He estimated that there were probably 25 people in the mine at the time of the incident, of whom 15 died, while 3 were injured and 7 are missing. Police and military launched a search early today for the missing, along with steps to evacuate the dead. So yeah, that's all part of capitalism. You know, gotta have those resources, brother, and it comes at a cost. Speaking of a cost, the country of Argentina, with President Javier Milei, has really taken to austerity quite well. In fact, poverty has soared there, despite what you may have heard in other media outlets. This is from France 24. Argentina's poverty rate soars above 50% under anarcho-capitalist Milei. So poverty in Argentina rose to over 52% of the population in the first 6 months of self-declared anarcho-capitalist Javier Milei's presidency, according to data released yesterday by the INDEC statistics agency. The report for the first half of 2024 showed that 52.9% of Argentines, or 15.7 million people, now live in poverty, and nearly 1 in 5 are indigent. The figure was up from 41.7% in the second half of 2023. Since taking office in December, Milei's government has applied a drastic austerity program with the aim of eliminating the budget deficit and taming chronic inflation. It has slashed subsidies for transport, fuel, and energy, even as thousands of public servants lost their jobs. Monthly inflation in Argentina fell to 4% in July, the lowest in 2.5 years, but the annual figure of 263.4% remains one of the highest in the world. The good news is it fell. The bad news is it's still fucking high. In December, when Milei took office, monthly inflation leapt by 25.5% after he devalued the peso by more than 50%. The move, in addition to severe budget cuts, strangled purchasing power. In January, the government reported its first monthly budget surplus in nearly 12 years, but critics say Milei's few wins have come at the cost of the poor and working class. So let me read that again. Critics say Milei's few wins have come at the cost of the poor and working class. Just like here, just like everywhere else, where you have these country leaders supporting capitalism over their people. Finally, Japan's got a new prime minister, in case you were wondering. Former Defense Minister Ishiba to be Japan's new prime minister. There he is right there. Former Defense Minister Shigeru Ishiba has been confirmed as Japan's next prime minister after winning the leadership vote of the ruling party on Friday, according to the official tally. The 67-year-old train enthusiast defeated Sanae Takaichi, who would have been Japan's first female leader, by 215 votes to 194 in the runoff. Upon announcing his victory at the Liberal Democratic Party headquarters in Tokyo, Ishiba smiled, removed his glasses to wipe away tears, and bowed repeatedly while being congratulated by his colleagues. I will do my utmost to believe in the people, to speak the truth with courage and sincerity, and to make this country a safe and secure place where everyone can live with a smile on their face once again, he said in a short speech. There he is with the glasses and the comb over there. Yeah, so a lot of news in the world today. And like I said, if you're in those affected areas where Helene is going through as a tropical storm, still dangerous, a lot of high winds, you're going to get a lot of rain. If you've already been having rain, that rain's just going to pile up on top of that and cause more flooding. So please be careful when you're in those places. We like to talk about propaganda around here. All these fuckers around the world trying to use it to fool their people. They're the BBC. Well, they're in on the act, too.
Sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these things they are true without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
All right, well, this is according to Declassified UK. Propaganda material will need to be disseminated. What? Britain's media is failing to report the true extent of UK support to Israel amid the genocide in Gaza. Really? That's shocking. This is not the exception in Britain's wars, but the rule, when Declassified revealed 3 years ago that the UK military had a secret team operating in Yemen. No British media outlet picked up the story. Neither are the UK press or broadcasters showing how the government has been avoiding peace prospects in Ukraine. One reason the UK media fail to report independently is that they are regularly willing participants in Whitehall's media operations, especially in wars. A major episode that sheds light on this is the 1991 Gulf War, on which some government files have now been declassified. Iraq's brutal tyrant Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait in August 1990, claiming it as a province under Baghdad's control and brutally repressing its small population. The U.S. and U.K. began a massive military buildup, deploying their forces to Saudi Arabia to prepare to oust Iraq from Kuwait. Alongside this military planning went extensive media operations, including the kids in the babies in incubators. You remember that story? Soon after the invasion, Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, told her ministers to begin a counter-propaganda campaign against Iraq. The main targets for propaganda efforts should be the Iraqi people, other Arabs sympathetic to Iraq, and the wider Muslim world, wrote Simon Gass, advisor to Foreign Secretary Douglas Hurd. Key themes would be that the crisis is wholly Saddam Hussein's fault because of the illegal and unjustified annexation of Kuwait and Saddam Hussein's brutality. All these themes need urgent amplification. Propaganda material will need to be disseminated, Gass wrote. The following month, Stephen Wall, Hurd's private secretary, noted the campaign should promote 3 key arguments. These were to maintain sanctions against Iraq to avoid Arab compromise solutions on a negotiated settlement to the crisis, and justifying presence of Western forces in the Gulf. The Allied bombardment of Iraq that took place from January 1991, known as Operation Desert Storm, was ferocious. Intense bombing struck electricity, water, healthcare, and industrial facilities, killing tens of thousands of people. Yet the UK media covered the war in ways that would surely have delighted Whitehall planners. An academic study noted a very successful campaign of mass persuasion by politicians, the media, and others in favor of military action. In particular, Saddam Hussein was portrayed as similar to Adolf Hitler, and the war as against him personally rather than against the people of Iraq. The media pushed for war and were largely against negotiations, and then proceeded to support the devastating mass bombing campaign as it unfolded. Des Friedman, professor of media at Goldsmiths, told us, I guess declassified UK, news coverage of the 1991 Gulf War was heavily staged, managed with a cast of military spin doctors, PR consultants, and compliant journalists. UK media largely lapped up the narrative that this was just a war against an evil dictator, precisely as Whitehall had hoped. Headlines reproduced military boasts of precision bombing and cruise missiles that could turn left at traffic lights and minimize the terrible impact for civilians. He added coverage was sanitized not simply because of pressure from the military, but also because of editorial decisions taken to protect readers and viewers from the catastrophic impact of the Allied attacks. And I'll have the link to the story if you want to read the whole thing in there. Like these propaganda tricks have been going on forever, right? That's why you can't trust the mainstream media. Seek out your independent sources, make sure that you're scrutinizing them as well. But mainstream media, you can pretty much write them off. They're always going to write good things for empire. Of course, Russia. I forgot, if it's not Hamas, if it's not Hezbollah, if it's not Iran, it's Russia trying to fuck with our elections. U.S. spies accuse Russia of using AI to target election. Boop, 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 boop. Russia is deploying artificial intelligence to interfere with the U.S. presidential election and is more adept at doing so than any other state. An unnamed U.S. intelligence official has alleged, as quoted by Reuters, Moscow has repeatedly denied any type of interference in foreign elections, including in the U.S., saying it respects whatever choice voters make. Although Putin did jokingly say he supported Kamala Harris because of her infectious laugh or something like that. Shit talkers. Speaking on condition of anonymity, an official from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence made the claims during a briefing to the media on the alleged deployment of AI technology by Russia and other nations to influence the U.S. presidential vote in November, Reuters reported. AI content made by the Russian authorities is consistent with Russia's broader efforts to boost the former president, Donald Trump's candidacy, and denigrate Vice President Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party, including through conspiratorial narratives, the representatives claimed, as cited by the news agency. According to the official, Russia is a much more sophisticated player in the field and has a better understanding of the U.S. electoral system. He also cited the announcement by the Department of Justice in July when officials claimed they had disrupted an alleged AI-enabled campaign to spread pro-Kremlin propaganda involving 1,000 social media accounts in the U.S. and abroad. China and Iran were also among the nations condemned by Washington for allegedly using AI in an effort to spread their influence. According to the official, Beijing uses the technology in broader operations to shape global views of China, amplify divisive U.S. political issues. Tehran is accused of generating posts for social media and writing inauthentic news articles for websites that claim to be real news sites with the help of AI. Earlier this month, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov stated that the upcoming U.S. presidential election is not a priority interest for Russia, noting that Moscow is focused on domestic problems and agenda. That's right. They got their own shit to deal with. They know how fucked up things are over here. And I think they pretty much know that it doesn't matter who's going to be president here. They're still going to hate Russia, and they're still going to love Israel. Nothing's going to fundamentally change. And finally, in our propaganda watch here, some of you have no love lost for Axios, the site, but I thought this was a particularly important graphic here that they shared. So Americans blame politicians for misinformation. Surprise, surprise. And this is the little graph here, types of misinformation Americans say are most concerning. So 51% think politicians spreading misinformation. Then social media companies failing to stop misinformation. AI being used to deceive people, both at 35% there. Media personalities spreading revisionist history. Foreign governments spreading misinformation. AI being unable to distinguish truth from falsehood. Amplifying divisive content to fuel arguments. Media personalities paid by foreign actors. America's top concern around misinformation right now is politicians spreading it to manipulate their supporters, according to a new Axios vibe survey by the Harris poll. The election is 40 days away. Nobody trusts or believes anything. That's true. It's like the call is coming from inside the house, said John Gerzema, CEO of the Harris poll, recalling the old horror movie refrain. The Harris poll is not affiliated with Vice President Harris. In past elections, there was always fear of misinformation and election interference coming from abroad. But here, we see the most likely source of concern is America's own politicians spreading misinformation. It used to be we were worried about China or Russia, fake ads or Facebook. No, it's coming from inside the campaigns. The big picture, 54% of respondents in the survey agreed with the statement, I've disengaged from politics because I can't tell what's true. Half of voters polled and nearly 2/3 of non-voters said when it comes to political news and the media, it's becoming too difficult for them to tell what is true and what is false. That was especially true for independents at 58% and Republicans at 55%, compared with Democrats at 39%. What's up, Prop? Yeah, he said that, but he was joking, dude. He didn't mean that. Because he said she had an infectious laugh. Come on, you know he's shit talking. 8 in 10 voters said they believe that misinformation can significantly affect election outcomes, political discourse, and civility. Skepticism about the truth has so blurred the lines that respondents were as likely to say they regularly see misinformation in online mainstream news, 77%, or cable TV, 73%, as in their social media feeds at 76%, or partisan news outlets at 72%. When the survey respondents were asked to identify up to 3 top concerns about misinformation, 51% identified politicians spreading misinformation. That ranked ahead of social media companies, and we told you the numbers there. 70% of respondents said they expect information will have a lot or quite a bit of impact on the presidential election, and 57% felt it would impact local election results as well. That's right. So that's why we say stay frosty, right? When people, especially these politicians and their media butt buddies, like, the Democrats with MSNBC and CNN and the Republicans with Fox News, you have to scrutinize them. You have to scrutinize, or just not watch them at all, and use more independent news sources, right? So, finally today, folks, speaking of shit, oh boy, I saw this today and I said, man, this is probably the shittiest story I've ever seen. And I'll just go ahead and share it with you. Dramatic video shows 33-foot poop fountain drenching cars in China after pipeline burst. And if you're eating or drinking something, you have like a weak stomach, you may want to turn away because I'm going to show the video. I'm going to show the video. A newly installed sewage pipeline burst on the morning of September 24th, that was Tuesday, in China, sending human excreta shooting 33 feet in the air. Stomach-churning footage has captured how the poop volcano drenched cars, pedestrians, and, those motorcyclists. According to the report in The Sun, the septic tank pipe burst occurred in Nanning, China, during a pressure test. The test was being carried out by qualified engineers during the laying of sewage pipes, giggity, Dramatic dash cam footage shows how the pipeline burst sent an orange fountain of human waste, which is also the theme of the Trump campaign, billowing into the air. The force of the explosion was such that it almost shattered the windshield of a car as it rained down on the motorway. Motorcyclists and pedestrians were forced to navigate through the stinky explosion in its aftermath. Luckily, no one was injured in the incident. And yeah, we're gonna take a look at this. Oh my God! It's a shit storm. Another video taken from a different perspective shows how high the fountain erupted, much like a geyser or a geyser, as they say in England. Roads were flooded with sewage waste after the explosion. I told you, shitty news. We literally got it. That's right. It's a shit storm. Man. Yeah, they might want to try testing those pipes another way. That thing, 33 feet up in the air, and it's just raining shit. Poor people in Nanning. They probably should have put an adult diaper on that thing, right? Kind of wrapped it up first. I don't know. Anyway, we end the show with shit, just because we can. So later today, I believe Willie said he's doing the Braglands, 5 p.m. Eastern. So fingers crossed for that. Hopefully the weather doesn't impede that. I'd like to see Willie there. Also, around the world, Dee and Friends tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, I believe. So be sure to check out her show. She always has good news. Well, she has good reporting on the news around the world, and usually has some good co-hosts on there. I was lucky to be on there a couple of weeks ago. It was very nice of her to have me on, even though my opinion doesn't really mean much of anything. Still, I was invited, and yeah, we did the thing. So be sure to check out those shows tonight. Also be on the lookout on Monday for another video from Franco. He's been doing these kind of self-help, helping make yourself a better person for yourself videos, in lieu of the gossip videos that you see a lot going on in here. Like, I can't believe what AOC said about Jill Stein. I mean, who gives a fuck, right? How does that really help you in the grand scheme, right? So he's trying to do something to help you, and in doing so, he does it for himself. So I'm happy to help him out with that. And usually those things come out on Monday, so be looking out for that. And we'll be back on Monday as well at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Mountain, and 7 a.m. Pacific time. Have a wonderful weekend. I love each and every one of you. Sorry about the shit. I hope you weren't eating. I gave you warning the poop was coming. So, you know, if you get an upset tummy, that's your fault, not mine. Peace out, Home Slice. We'll see you when we see you. Lord loves a working man. Don't trust Whitey. And if you catch something, see a doctor. Get rid of it.
This is SETI Alpha 5. Woo! Damn good song, wasn't it, dog? You like that song? All right.
Soon.